What's up, Brooks? Welcome back to All the Castles, the show where we visit all the castles in the UK. Today we're here at Carlisle Castle. Absolutely wonderful place in a very sunny area that definitely isn't covered in like dark brick structures. The castle has very impressive front when you first get there. Think about the scaffolding. And it's surrounded by this wall here, but the wall's not complete, so it's not like Chester or York where it goes around the whole city. Right, let's go further.
Hello, I'm standing in the gatehouse because it's a bit warm, it's a bit parky today, so I'll just give you a quick run through of the history of the castle. It is built on the site of a Roman fort for the town of Luguvalium. Historians are not sure, but they think that Carlisle continued to exist as a centre of the semi-mythical kingdom of Reged, but it really enters recorded history in 1092 when William II, better known as William Rufus, took it from a guy called Dolphin. I was trying to think of some sort of laboured pun involving flippers, but couldn't find a good one. Anyway, William's castle was just built of wood, so there's nothing left of that. It was built in stone by Henry I. He built the stone keep, and then when Henry died, his brother-in-law David I, King of Scotland, took advantage of the anarchy after Henry's reign to take it. So we think the keep is a mixture of Henry and David, and then Henry II retook the castle for England, and because it's on the border between England and Scotland, it's been besieged many times, and I won't go through that all now, but I'll mention some of that history when we see other things later on.
Okay.
This is part of a Roman altar which was used by the medieval builders to form part of that doorway, but it's now been separated. So this is probably the oldest artefact in the castle. Yeah, it's thought that these buildings in the gatehouse form the living accommodation for the sheriff rather than the actual owner of the castle. It's probably a bit too small for a dignitary to live in.
Well, how about me with the monarch's wings? What's
In case you can't guess, from the two large fireplaces in here, this was the kitchen. Okay, this is the Half Moon Battery. It was built when Henry VIII became concerned about the alliance between Scotland and France, so he paid for a lot of extra fortification of Carlisle. This used to be at a bigger height. It has been levelled down a bit, but as you can see, Simon is descending into the inside of it, so let's follow him. Ooh.
Be careful when you descend.
Yeah. Oh. Yes.
Oh, it's very bright down here.
Yes, this is a descent to take quite carefully on these soggy steps into pitch black.
Indeed.
But you can see where the defensive windows were to fire your muskets. So yeah, I'm just giving you an idea of how dark it is in here. And then there's another set of steps, actually less challenging than the first, I think, but I think it's probably still a good idea for me to use the handrail. Just behind the Half Moon Battery, you've got the small enclosure of the Captain's Tower, but which does provide a nice bit of shelter when it's drizzling like this. And there's some steps in here.
Very careful.
Yeah.
Gosh, it really is quite scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very tight.
Hello. And we're now at the first floor of the Captain's Tower. And we think this was built, well, by Henry II after he took Carlisle back from the Scots. And this is the second floor of the Captain's Tower. Up a less scary flight of steps, and then you've got another doorway back out into the open. And this is where hopefully we get an entrance to the keep, which unfortunately is covered in scaffolding today, but we're hoping we can still get in it. But for now we're going to have a little wander along the castle wall. And you've got some replica guns there, which Simon's pretending to fire. And this parapet gives you some lovely views over Carlisle and towards the river. And hopefully will lead us round to the keep. Well, now this is the site of what was Queen Mary's Tower. It was originally built by Edward I when he was using the castle as a launching pad for raids against Scotland, but 200 or so years later it was the first housing for Mary Queen of Scots when she fled to England, and from her short stay here it was always known as Queen Mary's Tower. But when the army came in the 1800s, they actually demolished the tower in 1835. And one other point of interest in that from Mary's diaries record a game of football being played in the courtyard here, and that's the first recorded game of football anywhere in the world apparently.
It's coming home. It's coming home.
Okay, despite all the scaffolding, the keep is still open. This is the centrepiece of the castle, and as I say, it's known that David extended what Henry I had done, so nobody's quite sure which of this is Henry's original building and which is David's. But what we can say is that this is mainly a 12th century keep made out of Cumbrian sandstone.
It has a dungeon.
Ah, the dungeons have a very good story to tell when we get there. Here in the basement of the keep, you've got these buildings, rooms which were used mainly as storerooms, but in 1745 they were used as dungeons to hold Jacobite prisoners, because the castle was taken by Bonnie Prince Charlie on his way down from Scotland, and then when he retreated back to Scotland, the castle was held out for a time, against the Duke of Cumberland's armies which were pursuing him. And in fact, Carlisle might have given him the breathing space he needed to make his final escape. Unfortunately, some of the people in the castle weren't so lucky. They were kept in here as prisoners, and then they were hanged by Butcher, Duke of Cumberland. And it's said that the sort of Loch Lomond, all that, you take the high road and I'll take the low road, was inspired by the fate of the prisoners here. Now, on the first floor of the keep, you've got the Great Hall, which they're currently using to hold some interesting banners about the military occupation of the castle. Was the home of the Border Regiment from the early 1800s. But you can see where the main fireplace was for the Great Hall.
What floor are we now, see?
The first floor. Yes. David, when he took over the castle, did regard this as a royal palace, and hence the need for a great hall for his entertaining. We're now in the on the second floor chamber, which is where the constable used to live, and you've got this old door with carvings, and also some medieval carvings on the walls that you can perhaps see through the glass. These were mainly made by bored prison guards, and through there you can see the entrance to a little chapel, and that's actually where King David I of Scotland died in 1153. It's a bit unfortunate that you can't actually go in there. In a building that was once a militia store just opposite the keep, you can find this small exhibition room giving you a tour of the castle's history. Yeah. Once you've finished exploring the medieval parts of the castle, your ticket then allows you to go into the military museum, which is part of these Victorian complex of buildings. Okay, we are filming the weekend after Remembrance Day, so there's plenty of poppies around decorating this tree in the courtyard, which makes a nice splash of colour. And then there's an old gun just beyond it. Oh, we're now in the Museum of Military Life. It's all on one floor, but there are a number of rooms. It's going off topic a bit, so I'm not going to give you a full guided tour, but it is all quite interesting and enhances your visit to the castle.
Right, I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Like, subscribe, leave a comment if you like it. If you don't like it, leave a comment with some constructive criticism. If you just say it's rubbish, I'll find you and I'll slap you.